Hey everybody, and welcome to the Shipper Update. I'm Zach Strickland here with Chief Economist Anthony Smith. Anthony, what do you got for us on this Tuesday?
That's right, Zach. So it's Tuesday, and thank you for that revamp intro there. So it's Tuesday, and we have a big update that we're going to talk about. That's the PPI, the Producer Price Index. And yesterday it was Monday, so of course we're talking about the upcoming releases. And Zach, it's just one of those weeks where, you know, there's some weeks where it's just like, there's not that much.
Right.
We're going to talk about the initial jobs claims and a bunch of historic trends. And sometimes those are the weeks, and you can really do a deep dive. This is not one of those weeks. We have big hitters. We have the PPI. We have industrial production. We have retail sales. We have housing starts. We have permits. We have so much going on. So I can just pull this chart up.
Do we need to expand the week?
We might need to expand the week. We might have to make this into a 6 or 7 day week, but we have a lot of data, and so we're jumping into this one. This is the PPI. Just got updated 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time this morning, and we saw an increase of 0.8% in this most recent report. So this was another upward movement, slightly down from last month of 1.2%, but still up overall in a positive. So another increase. This one was going to, so it's not like I started our data, it's not updated on a near real-time basis daily. So this is through February. And so this is showing a really big increase, especially in energy. And this was just in February. I know we're seeing some downward movement in prices now, but there's still definitely going to be some upward momentum, I think, as we kind of get into March. And I don't want to get ahead of myself. Yesterday I was talking about, I got to be like Bill Belichick here and just talking about next week's game. This is next week's game. And it's not talk about March and ahead of it, but there's a lot going on right now, and we're seeing that there is still a lot of upward movement for those producers. Although there is some, you know, talks of, hey, maybe we're at the peak here, but that still means that some of these prices are going to get passed on to those consumers, as we've seen last week in the CPI as well.
Yeah, I mean, seeing the producer price index is kind of that leading indicator, and typically, you know, your retailers kind of hold on, they kind of absorb some of this shock, and they obviously haven't been able to do that as much. But I think it's interesting because you're talking about energy being a big component of this upward pressure before really the Ukrainian-Russia conflict situation, right?
That's exactly right. I mean, when we look at that, just for the final demand of goods, February 8.2% increase for energy alone. When we take energy out, it's up 0.2%. So that's where some of the relief kind of sets in for some people of like, okay, if we just look at this, but the cool fact of it is, we still have to pay for energy, and so that doesn't just make everything a-okay, but it is nice to see that after that is taken out, okay, maybe there is that light at the end of the tunnel, maybe we did hit the peak, and maybe there is some way we can kind of navigate out of this, but it still shows that there's still a lot of upward movement, as you said. When times are good, they pass these on to the consumer because they can take these price increases. And as of yet, from the data that we've seen so far, those consumers have been able to take on those price increases, and they've been willing to. How long that's going to last is really the big question. Where is that going to deteriorate? And really, is that such a bad thing for the supply chain just to kind of, you know, maybe take a breather while demand subsides? We just don't want it to subside to the point where, okay, now we're having retraction across the board.
Yeah, are you thinking that this is still in an unhealthy type environment for the producer price index? Do you think that we need to see a little bit more flatlining here?
I think we still need to see quite a bit here going on, and I think one of the big things is, of course, like you said, the prices are going to get passed on to the consumer. These companies are really going to have to really, you know, make sure their margins are still going to really be met. And so they can only take a loss for so long. And as you said, it's already being passed along to the consumer. And that's going to continue to happen as we kind of get further and further into the second quarter, or get into the second quarter here soon. When we start looking at the horizon, it's really going to be around where that demand lies for those consumers. Because if demand starts to subside, those producers might have to try to say, hey, all right, we'll kind of eat into our margin. Maybe we'll take a hit on a couple things so we can really expand our market share and not lose too much, because if we start to see one person starting to make those downward movements in prices, maybe it's going to be a little bit more appealing for you. The other big thing for those producers, we're going to have a little bit of an update. Maybe if you want to do a podcast on Thursday around the LMI, but sneak peek to that one, inventory levels for those upstream producers at near record highs or at record highs from the LMI, so showing that upstream inventories are building. So if you're sitting on a lot of inventory, warehousing prices are eating you up, and now producer prices, especially energy, is really eating you up. is it really going to be, do you really want to ship that shipment out because it's going to be so much more expensive to get it covered? Contract rates are high, so it's going to be a lot of variables for those shippers to consider moving forward.
Yeah, a lot of inventory management decisions to make, like I called earlier in the year.
Yes.
It's going to be the year of the inventory manager. Well, thank you so much for that, Anthony Smith. We're going to toss to a quick break, but we'll be right back. Stay tuned.